Hello everybody and welcome to another episode counting down my top 100 games of all time. Today's video we're going to be counting down numbers 70 to 61, so let's get to it. First up on the list is a game set in ancient Egypt, and that is EMOTEM. My number 70 game, ranked 407 on Board Game Geek. EMOTEM is a fun game. It's another game that's like a mix of mini games. Basically what you're trying to do is you are trying to build a couple wonders in Egypt, like an obelisk, tombs, even a pyramid. And how you do that is you take your colored stones from the quarry and you load them up on boats, ship them across the Nile, and then unload them. The fun of the game comes in loading up the boats and trying to plan where you think the boats are going to go and how the cubes are going to get unloaded. Different wonders score differently. Maybe some wonders will score you points based on your cubes being together. Maybe different squares that your cubes are unloaded to will be worth more or fewer points. Boats do not sail when they are full, which is kind of what makes this game very exciting and tense. You might be putting cubes on a boat, hoping to get that last space on a boat, and then someone decides to sail the boat instead of put another cube on it. And maybe they end up sailing it to a wonder you weren't planning on sending your cubes to. So it's kind of got a push your luck aspect to the game, trying to understand where you think other people might send boats. Are they going to try to sabotage where you're trying to go? Really fun game, EMOTEM. My number 69 game is a two-player game in the same vein as Twilight Struggle, and that is Dual Powers Revolution 1917. In this game, one person will play the reds and one person will play the whites, and you will be fighting between each other for control of St. Petersburg during the Russian Revolution. And what you're trying to do is it's a card-driven game. You'll be playing cards to bolster up forces in different cities on the district. Some of the cards might have some powers to move around your forces. And after each player has played, I think it's 4 or 5 cards, you will then score different regions on the board, and whoever has control will score points. And it's kind of a tug-of-war game. If I score points, you lose points. So if I score 4 and you score 4, we both end up at 0. You do this for a couple rounds, and then whoever has the power on their side at the end is the winner. Really fun game, plays very fast, but it's got a lot of strategic depth in that game. That is Dual Powers. My number 68 is made by one of the world's most famous designers, Uwe Rosenberg, and that is Agricola, currently ranked 31 on BoardGameGeek.com. Agricola is one of the first worker placement games. It is subsistence farming in medieval times. You are basically sending your family out to grow vegetables, capture animals, put them in pens, breed them, and at the end of every round you have to make sure you have enough food to feed your family. The game plays pretty quick. It can be longer with more people, but you're basically sending these workers out. You know what you need to do. You're hoping people don't take your actions. It's still a ton of fun. I do like this game a little bit better than Caverna. Caverna just missed being in my top 100 games. Agricola is just cleaner, crisper, works smoother. A great Uwe game. That is Agricola. My number 67 favorite board game to play of all time is a Michael Kinson game, and that is Maharaja Palace Building in India. This game is ranked 696 on BoardGameGeek.com. Michael Kessling, I believe is how you say his last name. He's the designer of Azul, the designer of Heaven and Ale, 2 other very popular games. In Maharaja, one of his older games, you are basically trying to claim different roads around India to move your workers through different villages in order to build palaces. It's got simultaneous action selection, which I love. You get this little disc where you turn this little dial to pick what actions you want to do this round, and then everyone reveals it simultaneous. You bid for turn order, trying to get all these palaces out. You know which city the Maharaja is going to judge every round, and that's the city that's going to be scoring points, but there are ways to change the route the Maharaja is going around and maybe get him to a different city that you're ready for him to judge. A lot of fun, really good game. Maharaja Palace Building in India. Moving on down the list, we get to number 66, and that is Teotihuacan, City of the Gods. Ranked number 61 on Board Game Geek. This game is a dice worker placement game. It's basically a giant rondel. You'll be moving your workers around the board, stopping them on different actions. What I love about this game is that the board, which is the rondel, which is where you move to select your actions, can be set up differently every game. So 2 actions might be next to each other one game, and then they'll be on opposite sides of the board in the next game. It's got a really neat mechanic where after your dice perform actions, their pip value goes up. You're not actually rolling the dice, it just kind of keeps track of the strength of your workers. The stronger they are, the better action they take. So they start off weaker, and the more actions they take, they level up until you reach a pip value of 6, and then they're retired. I believe they are killed off, and you move up this Palace of the Dead track. Really fun game. It's just a classic collect resources to build things game. Not too much going on that's very different except for that rondel mechanic and the leveling up of workers, which is phenomenal and really makes the game great. That is Teotihuacan, City of the Gods. My number 65 is another 2-player game, asymmetrical game, and that is Claustrophobia 1643. Claustrophobia, this is the reprint that just came out in 2020. The original game came out several years before then. In Claustrophobia, you take on either the underworld, the demons of hell, versus the saviors, the redeemers, who are trying to beat them back from New Jerusalem. Both factions kind of have this dark veil over them. The Redeemer, who fights on the side of good, is basically using prison pawns to fight off the demons, and if they survive, they will get their freedom. And the demons of hell are really, kind of the good guys in the game from a standpoint that they're being invaded. The Redeemers are actually going down into hell to fight the demons, and so they're trying to push the Redeemer back out. So the theme is a little morbid, it's a little interesting, but what's fun about the game is it's a tile laying game as you are building this underworld and exploring. So if you are the good guys, the Redeemer side, you're exploring these catacombs, these caverns, and if you are on the forces of darkness, you basically are trying to steer them in wrong ways. You're trying to jump out at them, trap them, cut them apart so that the party splits up. It's a fun dungeon crawling game, lots of asymmetry. Really fun. The game comes with, I think, 10 or more scenarios to play through, and you can just keep replaying them. Ton of fun. That's Claustrophobia. My number 64 is a dice and building game, currently ranked 920 on Board Game Geek, and that is Kingsberg, the 2nd edition. First edition might be ranked a little higher. The 2nd edition comes with a couple of the expansions in it. Kingsberg is a game where you are basically trying to build up your little medieval village. You get a little sheet of paper in front of you that has all these different buildings that you can build, that you kind of have to build in order on the rows. And what you're doing is you're rolling dice, and then you're assigning those pip values to different people on the king's court. Some people might give you wood resources or maybe gold. Maybe they'll let you re-roll your dice, and you're assigning these dice out to all of these different advisors to gain the resources you need to build up your medieval town. And each of the buildings you build are worth different points. You're also trying to build up army forces, because at the end of every season you have to withhold an attack from goblins or different raiders. It's really fun. You go around, everybody takes a turn putting their dice out on the board, so you're kind of hoping that no one takes the spot you want. If you have a dice of a 5 and one of a 1, you could split them up and take the 5 action and the 1 action, or you could combine them together to take the 6 action, which might be a little better, but then you get fewer actions. Lots of fun in the game, lots of cool decisions, plays pretty fast, and that is Kingsberg, the 2nd edition. My number 63 game is ranked 67 on Board Game Geek, so right about where it should be, I suppose, and that is Quacks of Quedlinberg. Quacks of Quedlinberg is a bag building game where you will put different ingredients for your magical potion in these bags, and you will be drawing them out one at a time to put in your cauldron, which is sitting right in front of you. And what you're trying to do is add as many ingredients as you can to this cauldron to get you more and more points, more and more money to buy better ingredients without going bust, without adding too many ingredients that'll add up to a number that makes it blow up in your face. So this Push Your Luck is a very fun game. It's hilarious to watch people around the table to see how far they want to go, to see if they're going to blow their cauldron up or not. What's great also is that even if you do blow up, the game's not too punishing. It is funny to blow up. It's funny if you don't blow up. It's just this risk game which everyone seems to enjoy. Very simple. Families love it. Die-hard gamers love it. It's a very good game. Quacks of Quedlinberg. My number 62 game is Carson City, the board game. Now, Carson City, the card game, showed up in a prior video. Carson City, the board game, is basically the same game but on a board. It's got this interesting snake track of action selection that you'll be going through to pick what you want to do. And instead of building an individual town right in front of you like the card game, you'll all be building Carson City together on the main board, and you'll be trying to get different districts built, claiming different buildings for your own to get their bonuses. Fun game. Just a little better than the card game, but they're both great, and that is Carson City, currently ranked 471 on Board Game Geek, my number 62. The last game we have today at number 61 is Mechs versus Minions. That is ranked number 41 on Board Game Geek, my number 61. Mechs versus Minions is a programming game, a co-op game. Co-op games tend to not be ones that I enjoy too much, but this game is really fun because there can be no quarterbacking. Everybody is really working on their own for a common good, and that is you are drafting cards at the start of each round. You are building up your own deck as you go through these little mini campaign missions, and these waves of minions are just coming at you, and you are laying down these cards to steer your mech around, right turn, left turn, spin, fire, and you're moving all around, trying to stomp and squish all these mechs. There's a lot of games out there. There are one versus many, but this is a cool game that's many versus many, where instead of fighting one big bad guy, you're just squishing hundreds of little minions. Really fun. Even after, it's not a legacy game, even after you play through, I think there's 10 missions in there, you can design your own or replay them again, try out different combinations, try the different figurines that come with the game. Beautifully produced game, and that is Mechs versus Minions. Well, thank you for watching this list of number 70 through 61, and we'll be back with the next top 10.